Hi there, great to have you. You probably have an incredible gaming machine, but maybe you also enjoy workstations, the raw power of dual CPUs, several DIMM sockets. But what if we can combine those two so we can have as much fun as we would on our gaming machine? That's a really cool looking gaming machine. Look at that guy, he's having so much fun. Not familiar with the game he's playing, he's mashing strange keys. There's our gaming rig. Oh wait, that's a workstation motherboard in a gaming case. Wait, is that possible? I see RGB lights. Okay, that's very important. We got a Noctua fan. That's important for a gaming machine. Excellent. Vertical mounted GPU. That's very, very important for your gaming rig. And overkill CPU cooler. Yep, no, that's definitely a gaming machine. No rear I/O plate. Okay, this is looking a little suspicious. Maximum airflow. Oh, interesting. Why is there such a huge gap? Oh, that's a phenomenally huge air gap. We'll call it a panel gap. Okay, I see what's going on here. This must be a case swap. Now, what do we swap? Well, that's the HP Z240. Yes, in its native environment. The very capable, relatively recent... Wait, why is there no power supply? So confused. Why is that fan skew? This is very confusing. Oh, there's the power supply. Why is it not on the case? That's very unusual. That's right. We're going to case swap the HP Z240. Allow me to shine a light on the situation. How do we do this? Presenting your host, RACERRRZ. Let's do this. We're working our way through. Hopefully you can see it right there. This is our Z240. Oh wait, let me actually turn the light on. That's very generous of me. There it is. Okay, let's do this. So, phase 3, we've got our motherboard fitted. I've gone ahead and snuck through without your attention to try and get the GPU mounted. And there's a few other parts here. No, don't need this, don't need that. We'll throw that in. Let's do it. Rounding this machine off, phase 3, we have quite a lot of work to do. So if you saw phase 2, you may remember this little adapter here. Really cool. We have 4 USB 3.0 ports. Check that out. And we even have a USB-C port. Very, very versatile adapter, fully gold plated. That's right, the bling is there. Now other things here, we have a USB 3, and that's a 20-pin male adapter, which allows us to connect up to 2 additional USB ports. And I'm going to adapt this little guy into it. So that's going to give us an additional USB-C port without occupying a PCIe Express port. How cool is that? It does occupy a slot in our motherboard. Not motherboard, rather the case. So that's okay. We'll slot that in. It's going to be very useful, I am certain. Now let's get in here. We need to remove our GPU. But wait! Before we do that, something's missing. Give me half a second. Yeah, don't forget, like the video if you've enjoyed it so far, or maybe I haven't earned your like yet. Hang on before you do that. Let's use our GoPro here. Oh, it's not quite a GoPro, I wish it was. 4K cam, let's go for it. We need to get some action shots. That there is our NVMe, and right now, it's unoccupied. We need to get an NVMe in that slot. Let's do it. And check out the Z240 motherboard features. Very powerful motherboard, and quite cool. So this is one option here. Off on the left, we've got our NGF M.2 drive, a dated form factor of the SSDs, or rather NVMEs that you might be familiar with. So a little bit slower as well. Check out some of the other features of the Z240 if you're interested. The particular machine that I have has got quite a bit of option for upgrade, but we'll work on that. Lots of things to do. So this is our NVMe. Relatively long, large NVMe. Not the fastest one on the market. Something like a Samsung 980 would be really nice, but this particular one will work just fine. So we do need to remove our GPU in order to get access to that port. So let me quickly get this out. Easy. Couple of screws, and there goes the 970 from EVGA. Yes, I know it's a really old GPU, but it still works. Cut it some slack. It's okay, we'll upgrade it eventually. Okay, there's our motherboard, fully fitted, and you'll notice the power there. We'll talk about that later. Very important details there as well, but check out that CPU option. High-end CPUs, some really powerful CPUs you can get, but I think they're all limited to 4 core. That's one downside. Okay, NVMe, in it goes. So just one little notch to keep an eye out for on these, and fully mounted. Excellent. Okay, there's one problem. You'll notice we're lacking the ability to mount it correctly. Okay, we could put a plate down, we could 3D print something if I had a 3D printer, but right now we're a little bit stuck. That's just going to remain floating. Hopefully we don't break it off or knock it out by accident. That would be suboptimal. Okay, GPU. We are potentially going to need to install these cards before we do the GPU, otherwise we may have some trouble. So, oh, where's my screwdriver gone? Okay, don't worry. I have a sixth sense. I can sense it. There it is. I got it. No worries. Sure. Oh, sorry. I meant to do that. Totally meant to do that. That's a strategic placement there. Didn't need that. It was in the way. Let's do the next adapter here. So that's our USB-C, USB 3.1 adapter. I know. It's really cool. Let's quickly get the screw in. Now for the next one. Sorry to give you a fright earlier. It's really nasty when people just surprise you with random things flying off the screen. Okay, we will have to remove more of these brackets, but for now, let's try and slot it in the bottom. I think that's going to be optimal. Notice how it takes up almost no room and it won't interfere with any of our other modifications. Okay, GPU, in you go. So quick test fit, I'm going to call that a success. Now, let's mount this up. But wait, where's the GPU riser? Fair point, let me go check. I mean, you can't have a gaming rig without a vertical mounted GPU. That's right, vertical mounted GPU is a really good way to go. Now, for now, doing a quick test fit, I think the 6-pin cables will reach, but let's do this vertical mounting. I've never done this before. Let's see if we can figure this out. I mean, no, I'm an expert. I've done this heaps of times. Now, where's that vertical riser? Here it is. This is an unbranded eBay GPU riser. It's cheap. It has magnets. It has brackets, and in theory there should be at least 2 ways for you to mount your GPU. The magnets should sit down on the bottom of the case, pending clearance, and you also have the option of using a bracket that should, hopefully, mount somewhere in our Lian case, the 011 dynamic. But I'm not 100% confident, so I will say the Lian case actually comes with an optional adapter that allows you to do this. It's off memory 5 times the price of this eBay adapter, so make your choice. A lot of people complain it's maybe a little overpriced for what it is, but it does fit really well, where this one maybe not so well. So while I quickly get these screws undone, let's see if we can figure this out. I believe there are instructions of these. I'm just going to ignore the instructions and see if I can figure this out. We'll treat it like a bit of Lego or a puzzle. Always love doing puzzles. Okay, once we get this mounted up, hopefully I got the orientation correct, we will hopefully be able to get that GPU mounted. That screwdriver is not magnetic. Where's my magnetized screwdriver? It's very important. Grab a magnetized screwdriver. We can use the magnet here, quick strokes in one direction, but that may not be enough. Still has a tendency to fall. It's okay, we'll manage, we'll get this in. Very important, magnetize those screwdrivers. Excellent. Okay, now with all 3 screws mounted, let's do a test fit here. So straight away, I think you can see what the problem will be. 1, that bracket at the back doesn't seem tall enough. 2, we're going to lose some of our flexibility down the bottom. We had those SSD mounts. So, this is really tough, really tough. So I think we're going to run into some problems with this. This bracket may not be optimal, but we'll see if we can get it to work. Now, straight away, you're noticing we have a problem. All our hard work earlier has been undone. The bracket has to come out, because otherwise, no way of even testing this. Okay, so that's definitely too short, and I suspect we're going to have to remove all the others. Very, very unideal, but it's okay. We do have to remove them in the name of, should we say science? I feel like this is science. Okay, let's get this in. Can it work? Okay, so 2 options here. We could just leave it down on the base and just use the magnets. Hopefully that'll keep the GPU in place. Might remove the upper one. I think the instructions would tell you to remove all of these brackets. Pretty confident. Okay, that's much better. Now there was the bracket that they supplied. The question is, can we use the bracket to mount it? Now I did vaguely look at the instructions before I did this process. We'll remove these SSD brackets, they're in the way. And there is 2 ways of mounting this. Now, one little problem. We do have to connect our GPU to the PCIe slots using an adapter cable, a riser cable. Now this is great, except they don't have any flex, so the PCI port, or the GPU, will have to remain in its original position for this to work, which means we have to mount it quite far back, and obviously the cable has to plug into the GPU. We want access to it. So we'll see if this works. And another big thing that I want to check is sag. How much sag is there going to be on this GPU? And you'll notice I'm using the 970 instead of something more modern because, well, I don't really trust this process. I want to test it first, then we'll upgrade the GPU. But for now, tried and tested. How old are these 970s? 10 years? I forget. They're really old, but they still work incredibly. 4K gaming, maybe not. 1080p gaming, yeah, no troubles. Okay, so testing here, we have our PCI adapter there, slotting into our riser adapter, and a couple of quick notches there, and I think that's mounted. So sag is going to be a big one, but let's test this bracket that they gave us. Yeah, this bracket looks interesting. How does this work? Okay, we got threads on one end and some big openings on the other. So really confused as to how this is going to work in this configuration, but it looks like these supplied screws here will be too short to basically jimmy it on. I think the idea would be to space it out into the case itself, and then you can use some bolts to tension it down, but as I mentioned, that riser cable has no flex, so I don't think that's going to work for this particular transplant. There are these bolts as well, which are meant to help stabilize, but looking at that, they don't seem to do anything in my application. That's okay, lots of other hardware, but I don't think that's going to save us. A little bit of sag, but overall I think that'll work. So here's the riser cable. Let's have a look at this. So very, very cool. You get different designs. This is the one that I use. It's the XT X-Night. Not quite sure how to pronounce that one, but really cool cables. I've got quite a few of these now. They work really well. Watch out for a future video where we try and use these to go underneath the GPU to free up some of those occupied slots, especially those 4090 cards. They're going to occupy at least 3 PCI slots. Man, that's a waste. We should be able to find a way to use them. Or at least we'll try now. Sorry, suboptimal camera angle here. I don't think I can give you a good view, but you know what we're doing. We're trying to insert. Now, I will say this footage was sped up probably 4,000 times. This took forever. Those cables are really difficult to get in. Take your time. Sizing's important. If your cable is too short, it just doesn't work. If your cable's too long, you're going to have a big mess. This one, I think, was a 15 centimeter. I'm going to say that's just too short. It's a really tight fit, no flexibility whatsoever. Give it a quick gloss there, but now it's plugged in. We have GPU power, and yes, very important to stress, you can get the Lian the adapter, which likely would do this far, far superior, and it's not that much more expensive, maybe 4 times, maybe 5 times. Check the pricing, it depends what you can obtain it for. Okay, GPU mounted, let's get our adapters back in. So that bottom one should be an absolute breeze. I'm hot fit, no, doesn't fit down the bottom, we'll have to go up top. That's okay, changing our design, or thread that one in, easy. Now we do have that cable. Hopefully we can secure that so it does not interfere with our GPU, particularly the GPU fan, but that shouldn't be a problem. So this is highly optional. I will remind, this is just so that I can have 2 USB-C connectors, very useful for some of the modern cameras, like the Brio 4K camera and so forth. Hopefully we get good speeds, we'll test that out. And could also plug in something like your RACERRRZ for your SSD, or rather your NVMe to USB adapter. So very useful, lots of use. Now while I do this, I'm going to get our NVMe adapter and you should play a quick mini game. Oh, this is called the Rackedonia. Oh no, we'll go to Homo sapiens. They're a far better species. Okay, let's do this. High fragility, high intelligence. Oh, there's our energy pack. Oh wow, it's a spider. That was dangerous. No wonder we're running. Oh, run faster, little dude. Whoa, is that a GPU upgrade? I want the GPU. Oh, that was a power up. Let's do this. Oh, that's super fast. We're going to do this. Oh, game over. Oh, that Rackedonia. He's got the high score. Dang, and we missed the GPU upgrade. Dang, hopefully I earned that like. Good luck getting that GPU upgrade. Maybe next time we'll try that minigame again. That was really hard. I'm very keen on that upgrade though. Wow. Okay, there it is. I think we almost have this bracket installed. I had to do some really complicated geometry to get that to fit, by the way. It was really, really tough. But right now we have an NVMe and an air-cooled enclosure. Look at that. Check out one of my related videos if you want to know how to manage one of those and even to improve the cooling on one of them. Okay, let's continue here. No time for mini games. We're here to finish this process. Hopefully you got a good view. Now the question is, what do we do next? I mean, is that done? What's missing? Oh wait, there's no cooler. There's no CPU, there's no RAM. Okay, we probably should do those. Is now the right time? Oh, so many other things. There's lots of loose wires, hard drive. Oh, really messy as well. We'll tidy that up. Let's show you the awesome wire tuck that I have not yet done. Wait, what is this? This looks like a spider's nest. Disaster. Why is there so many webs coming out? Okay, so very important. Take the time, do some cable management. In my defense, the RGB connections, which you'll see wrapped up in insulation tape there, is really hard to manage. That's the power cable for this motherboard. Very important. You can see me handling it there as well. That is critical to adapt our ATX power supply to supply the motherboard of the Z240. Pretty important. So really recommend that you do a slightly better job than I did there. Those AUP RGB fans are really cool, by the way, but a little bit of problem getting the wiring done, and those wires seem to pop out as well. Really tricky to keep them all powered. Okay, 6 pins. Now you'll notice I'm using 6-pin plus 2-pin adapters. That's because I do have intent to upgrade to a slightly better power supply. Power supply, GPU, better GPU, so we'll get there, but for now that's looking really good. Now something's missing. Give me a second while I grab the next most important ingredient. And keep an eye out for a future video where we will review this bad boy, the Z240 in its native case. So it's actually quite a neat case. Let's get rid of that camera. Okay, there it is. So Z240, very powerful, very cool case as well. This isn't actually that bad, aesthetically quite nice. We have the rear I/O plate, very important to note, that's built into the case. Oh, Wi-Fi card, need to pinch that out. Now, for the RAM. Now, what are the RAM options? There's a lot of RAM options for this machine. Take note, it is going to be server RAM usually, and you are going to be running ECC memory. And this particular model, as you can see there, is a 8GB, pretty solid, 2133 megahertz, so relatively fast, although by modern standards really slow, but pretty solid for this particular machine. And I think you can spec it up 1 or 2 steps in terms of megahertz if you get better quality. Don't ask me where I found that CPU cooler. That will remain a mystery. Okay, CPU cooler. Yes, that's a cool looking cooler. It's going to look even cooler once it's in the case. Sorry about the cheesy puns there. Let's quickly fit our CPU cooler. And we do need to fit our CPU as well. So first thing, we need to remove the blanking plate. This is really important to help protect the CPU pins. So just one single bracket on this one. Some of the other workstations have 2, so this one's easy. I highly recommend that you lay the machine down. I'm just doing this to give you a good view, but that's so dangerous. What if I accidentally slip and hit all the pins and destroy the motherboard? It's okay, I can confirm that didn't happen, but oh, that was close. Okay, CPU, let's quickly throw that in. Oh, you probably want to know what the CPU is. Let's have a look at it. It's an Intel Xeon. I forget the model number, I'll put it up on the description. But it's a really capable little CPU. These only support, unfortunately, 4-core CPUs. A little bit surprised, I was hoping for a 6, maybe even an 8-core, but I don't think they can support them. Maybe you can prove me wrong, that'd be great. But for now, let's go for it. We'll fit our very capable 4-core CPU. These clock at relatively good speeds. I forget the model number, sorry about that, but I think it's a 3.6 gigahertz max, which is pretty solid for gaming and for everything that this machine's going to do. Primarily, it's going to be for recording 4K video. So we'll see if we can do that. So clipping this in, you've got to keep an eye out for the gold triangle. It's in the top left corner, and you can see that on the bracket as well. Okay, time for this awesome looking cooler. Okay, that's perfect, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Wait, why doesn't it work? Oh, that's right. These standoffs are mounted in the case. It's okay. You knew we weren't going to fit such a boring cooler, and it probably doesn't cool sufficiently. Anyway, let's go for something a bit more extravagant. But you'll have to wait for the next video. Now, just to check, is there any way that we can hotwire this cooler in the meantime so I can show you how this thing works? Okay, no hardware. It's okay. We don't need it. Just a reminder as well, that rear I/O is unable to be filled, but you can get blanking plates. I'm going to try and see if I can find a way to do that as well. You have to cut it out yourself, though. I don't see any available on marketplaces. Okay, let's do this. The final section of our clip today. Power. Okay, nothing's happened. Great. There's no fire. There's no sparks. Oh, do I see a green light? We got the green light. That's great. That must mean this is ready to go. So let's see if I can find the switch here. I think it's one of these. On. Oh, nothing happened. Try it again. On. On. Okay, nothing's happening. Is that the right switch? Oh, maybe it's the top one. Okay. Oh, that's a bit of spark there. It's not running. It's not powering. I wonder why. Well, there's a loose cable. Whoever did the wire installation here needs to be fired. That was a disaster. But let's have a look. This here is the typical power adapter from an HP workstation. This particular one is actually off a Z840. I think it's compatible with the 640 as well as maybe the 440, but I'm not sure about the 240. As far as I can tell, that's a completely different connection, and it's kind of expected because our case has an audio connector and the HP had a audio plus power connector. Yeah, that's a little bit different. So slight difference there. Notice the extra pin, but that's okay. We should be able to plug in our audio adapter, but that was more likely to be the power adapter, which is for a different motherboard, so that's okay. We don't need to worry about it. Wow, that wire tuck is really edging me off here. Why is that so messy? It only takes a few minutes. Feel free, try and do a little bit of a wire tuck. Maybe next time we'll look into that as well. But for now, let's see if we can somehow tidy this up just enough to get this to power. So straight away, let's get the audio plugged in. It's not critical for the powering, so something else is stopping this machine from powering. Maybe you've got a really good eye. Maybe you can spot what's missing. So far, not very obvious, but we can check our work. So going back through, GPU's clearly plugged in. We just did that. Let's change the camera angle. You can't see, but very important to check these power connections. So we'll go through those in a little more detail now. Now, everything seems connected there. Always important to check that they're plugged in fully. Talking about plugging in, those RTX 4090 cards, apparently that's the main problem now. People aren't plugging them in fully. So very important, make sure you get the click on these cables, just generally a good process. Now, scanning through, do we have any loose connections? What's this one? Yes, this particular cable, which is part of our case, does not come supported on our motherboard. It's actually the USB-C or Type-C header, and we don't have one on our motherboard. Most gaming cases will, however. Okay, I don't see any faults here. Let's go back to the front. Anything that's not plugged in? Yes, hopefully you caught this earlier. That's the power button. Okay, pretty important. Now the question is, how do we plug these in? Because we don't know the pins. How do we find this information? Very good question. Well, I'm really experienced. I'm just going to make an educated guess, and I am certain. It's just the camera angle you can't see. I'm just going to make a guess here. I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling confident. I feel like I could figure this out just by a little bit of geometry. Okay, we'll plug that one in there, that one in there. No, you do want to do this properly, otherwise you could short something out. That's really suboptimal. So check out the diagram up on the screen. We'll go for the HP manual. I think that's the most reliable way of doing this. Now, I will throw a shout out to a related YouTube channel. Check out the details there. They did a really good guide on how to get this motherboard fitted. There is one problem. Their motherboard is the small form factor motherboard, and it's quite different. There's a lot of different connections between that one and this one. So as far as I can tell, there's no instructions on how to do this. No one's done this, or maybe they have and they didn't post it online. I don't know. But for now, we're fully doing this cold. There's no resource to help us. I'm really hopeful we get this right, but there are a few things we can do to check these connections. So right now, I'm just going to wing it. I know where these go. Fairly experienced on where they should go. But we will do some research and then some testing. If it doesn't switch on, we know we made an error. Okay, that's really delicate, so careful on these pins as well. But let's check our work. We want to know how to do this. So one way of doing this is going back to the original case. If you don't have the original case, that means you're going to have to use my video. That's okay, you can do that as well. But thankfully, I have the case. I bought the motherboard separate from the case, so I have theoretically 2 of these, which is great. So check out a future video on the Z240. Definitely go through this case. It's a really capable little machine, packs a big punch. So let's have a look at what we've got cooking in here. Now what we're really interested in is just one thing, that power connector. That's a really beautiful machine. Definitely got to review this for you guys. Such a cool little case, very, very capable, lots of space for upgrades, but we're not here for that now. Let's focus on the power. Okay, I can't see. Can you guys see? I feel like we need better lighting. Should we try and get better lighting? Yeah, we'll work on some better lighting, but for now, that is the power connector of interest there. Let's quickly unplug it, and I can't see anything. Let's zoom in on it. That's much better. That HD color and good lighting does wonders. Okay, so very important here. You'll notice there's one little pin that is blocked off. That's really important for the orientation on this plug, and it's the same with the small form factor version of this motherboard as well. Now looking at this, we only have a handful of wires. I can see 6 by my eye. You might see more, maybe less. That does mean we only have to plug in 6 wires. Now looking at the connection there, I can see the upper margin receives most of the wires. The bottom margin of that plug is completely ignored. Bottom being towards the PCI slot. So let's go back to our case and let's do a test. Is that enough for us to figure out where they go? No, there's still going to be a probability here. Maybe a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right. But right now, the upper 2, and then the next 2, and then that one further down will all be occupied. But that blanking plate is the critical one that tells us the position. Now, to do this properly, let's do some more research. Yeah, I think it's better. We do have a power switch. We have a hard drive LED. I'm not convinced that one will work. We'll find out. And there should also be a power LED. Now, that one's really important because that's going to give us error codes if this machine ever decides to have problems. So as far as I can tell, the one on the far left is going to be power. Educated guess, by the way. Then we have our LED going on the opposite side, and I'm not 100% sure if the lower one's going to work, but I suspect that'll be our hard drive indicator, so I'm not quite sure. We'll see if that works. But for now, check out the wiring there. If this doesn't work, you'll find out. If it does work, you'll find out as well. And very important, the negative pins go on the bottom or closer towards the PCI ports. The positives go on the outside, the top, or the northern aspect of our current perspective. But I'll put a diagram up to help you keep track of that as well. Okay, let's zoom out. I think this is ready. I feel like we're ready to power this. What do you guys think? Is that enough, or should we do more research? I think that's enough. Let's put it on. I'm confident this is going to run without any error codes. It's just going to work. I have complete faith. Oh, it's not switched on. Haha. It's okay. You got to switch on the power supply. Always make sure that's off, by the way. Very dangerous otherwise. Let's do this. Power. Oh, green light. That's always good. That's always good. And voila. Voila. Come on. Light up. Come on. You know you want to. Ah, it's not running. Why is it not running? Did we wire something incorrectly? Let's keep an eye on that LED. Oh, the LED was blinking. Did you see that? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I saw a blink. Okay, now it's not blinking. Okay. Okay, I saw blinks. I saw 3. Was that 3 blinks or was that 4? Wait, let's keep an eye. Keep an eye here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's definitely 4 blinks. Now, I feel like it's trying to give us a message. Let's see if we can decipher this. Yeah, that's definitely 4. Is that 2 4s in a row? I thought we saw 3 earlier. That could be important. Okay, that's definitely 4. Now, I feel like we need to decipher this. Let's have a look. I remember a 3, I remember a 4. What does this mean? Well, on the side of your HP Z240, if you have the original case, it does have diagnostic trouble codes and the motherboard pinouts. So useful. Even the memory load order. Now, looking at this diagnosis, I'm heading towards a code of 3.4 by the looks of it. So that's a 3 major and a 4 minor. Reading through there, okay, we don't have pictures because we don't have a speaker fitted, but we did have the blinking LED, which confirms the pinout, by the way. Okay, so power. Pretty sure we have a power supply. Now, at this point, because we've transplanted this, there's so many possibilities. It could be that the brand new power supply is incorrect. Maybe it's faulty, just by chance. Or maybe I've wired something incorrectly. Maybe the motherboard's faulty, I haven't ever powered it. Maybe the CPU's not installed correctly. Maybe the RAM's faulty. There's so many things that could be at fault. We'll check this LED power code again, so we'll run through. As far as I can tell, it's definitely a 3 and a 4, which confirms something is wrong with motherboard power. Now you're thinking, how do we solve this problem? Is this the end of the project? Well, might be the end of the project. I'm sorry, there's just no way we can get this running. No, you know it's not that simple. We can do lots of extra things. The first one is, let's go to the internet. Google. Surely someone out there has done this. Surely someone can help us. Now, I'll just quickly check some of my connections here. Now, one thing you could do, make sure you switch off the power supply, is check the ground connections on the motherboard. Remember, we did transplant this. Check out part 2 to see how that works. Now, I'm quickly going to do a Google search here. Let's see. Has anyone done this before? No. HP documentation. Have we made an error? What does that error code mean? Pretty confident it just means we're not receiving power. So the most logical thing is, let's go for a working power supply. I know this one works perfectly, the HP original power supply. We'll quickly remove the 4 mounting screws. We'll pull it out. It doesn't reach otherwise. Unplug it, and let's throw this in. Now, if we connect this power supply to the correct locations, we got the 4-pin power for the CPU in the top corner. We got the main power supply feeds off on the right-hand side. If this powers, that means our switches is basically wired correctly. And that could mean the power supply is faulty or some other wiring issue. But let's see, if this powers, that means we're good. That means everything's good. Okay, that seems to be running. A little bit of fan noise, might have a wire stuck in a fan somewhere, but that sounds really good. Okay, no, that's definitely running. Excellent. Okay, something went bad. It's okay, just the little cable there touching. We'll sort that out. Wire tuck, very important. So for now, I'm going to confirm it's the power supply. Was it the power supply that's at fault? Maybe. So after a little bit more troubleshooting, I figured out it's the power connector that I used for the 4-pin. So this one's very, very peculiar. I didn't think I actually had one supplied on the case. Talk about shining a light on the situation. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. We'll continue that in the next part. I'm getting a quick haircut here. Very important to look good for you guys. Hey there, RACERRRZ. Sorry, we're having some trouble. The power keeps cutting out. Oh, that's strange. Really suboptimal. We'll have to look at a UPS. Maybe a future video we'll get a UPS running. Yes, that's right, we got it running, no troubles. We do want to get rid of that GPU though. I'm going to play that minigame again and see if I can unlock the 2070 Super upgrade and take the high score. But for now, keep an eye out for the next phase. We're going to fit some CPU coolers, plural, that's right, 2 different coolers. I'll explain that in the next video. That looks pretty cool. But for now, Cooler Master fan is on. And that does look really, really beefy and really, really cool. But there are some tedious problems. So, credits. Always good when you have lots of spare parts. None of that was essential for this build. Or maybe it was. We'll have to revisit that. Oh, so many computer components here. So what can we expect in the future? Wait, was that the CPU bracket? Do we need those? No, we don't need those. That looked really important. We don't need that. We don't need that. What was this? Random PCI adapter. We don't need it. We don't have space for... Oh, hard drive. You can throw that in. Arctic Silver. Yes, that's right. Next time we'll fit this CPU and do the full installation. Thermal paste. Hopefully eventually I'll do some thermal paste testing on this machine. Oh, silicon pad. No, that's a different video. You've already seen that, hopefully. Check it out if you haven't. Oh, CPU spreader. That looks really nice. Yes, CPU spreader. We'll do that for part 4. Keep an eye out for that. And if you haven't seen my mounting of these brackets into the Z420, check out that video as well. And yes, gotta have a knock to a fan in a gaming case. Critical. Have a good one.